Hello and welcome to the Blood and Pigment Podcast. I'm Joseph here with a bunch of people. We just finished the 2025 Summer of Plunder event, a big Blood and Plunder and Oak and Iron and Port Royal campaign over the summer here for Firelock Games. Jason and I are here. We have been organizing the event, and we have all the volunteer leaders for all the different nations, all community leaders who have been helping out with the campaign this year. We survived the event. Jason, have you survived?
Mostly. Turned around and went straight into convention.
Oh yeah, NashCon right away. That was a little rough, but we have everybody here. We want to kind of just get their feedback and experiences from leading their different teams. So I thought we'd just go around real quick and have you all introduce yourselves, and then go around again and kind of just talk about the. Give you a good 5-7 minutes to talk about your experiences as a group and how close you got to winning and highlights, lowlights of the event. Let's start with the pirates and go through in rulebook order, as we say.
Hi, I'm Daniel Ray, and I was the pirate commander.
And Greg, you're up.
Hey, Greg Padilla. Fourth year running in Summer of Plunder. I was the second in command for the pirates.
Grizzled veteran, we call you at this point.
Oh, yeah, I love that character.
You always do a great job with the updates. I really appreciate your work. Good to have you back. Spanish?
Hey, everybody. Josh Shivak, commander of Spain.
And I am Brody, or Daniel, second in command for Spain.
England.
I'm Riley Falk. I'm the second in command for the English this year.
And Eric couldn't make it right now, right?
Correct.
French?
Bonjour, mes amis. I'm Gareth Worthy, and I was second in command for the French, going under the name of Henri Leroux.
You had the best call to arms this year, I have to say. I love your video.
Cheers. I enjoyed doing it.
And I think no one from the Dutch were able to make it this morning, unless I am wrong. Anybody from the Dutch here? Maybe they'll join us. Natives?
So Derek Taylor, I was the commander of the natives this year.
And I'm Brent DeVos. I was second command for the natives.
And Unaligned.
Josiah Huss, Unaligned Commander.
Thank you all for all the work you put in this year. Really appreciate it. Takes a lot of effort and time and attention, and really appreciate it. All right, now let's circle back to the top here, starting with the Pirates. I have to congratulate you for a good, solid win this year. You guys want to talk about, you can tag team or have one of you lead, whatever you like to do about anything you want. We have some questions to hopefully spark some conversation. How was the pirate experience this year?
It was pretty cool. It was a lot of fun, and it was a great Discord channel, and a lot of people it was just so much fun to kind of get the community together and just see what everybody had to, their different ideas and their different strategies, and just a lot of the silliness that we had too, like with the drink contest and the photo contest, that sort of stuff.
You guys do have a high nonsense ratio in your channel.
Yeah, that was encouraged. Yeah. So I guess should I work through some of the questions then?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess so. One of the questions was the most memorable experience, and I would say for me, it was when our pirates agreed to a full defensive action like week 4, and then they did it again in week 7. So it was memorable just because I kind of tried to present us as like a bunch of bloodthirsty mob. So I hope it was a surprise for everybody else when we were pretty organized and defensive.
Bloodthirsty mob just sitting at home for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. And you guys didn't take the top spot early in the campaign, if I remember correctly. They kind of were pretty high the whole time, right?
Yeah, we were always second or third, generally at least. And then kind of were able to maintain that spot mostly through playing defensively and then ceding territories. So that was also kind of fun to get that to work properly. So We tried selling the Bonaire to the Dutch really early on, and they didn't pay us. So that actually worked out really well for us because we didn't have a good enemy at that point. So anytime we didn't know what to do, we basically said down with the Dutch. And
It's nice to have a team to hate to attack when you need to, right?
Greg, did you have any particular moments that stuck out to you in the campaign?
So with my experience, all I could do is fall back on my experience over the last 4 years. Part of this, one as a player, one as a captain, and the last few is the second in command. So it's really fun to see the evolution of how everything played out. I will tell you though, Daniel, I was definitely impressed by the strategy and the interaction that you were posting up here on Discord. All the voting, getting everybody involved. We had other captains in the past who did something similar, but you really took it to the next level, and I think that's what really rallied our faction to go out and continue to be more involved and be interactive for our success. I didn't think we were going to do it. The last couple of years we were close as pirates, but it was like then we get kicked to the curb. Um, so definitely hats off to you, Daniel, for making this happen.
It was fun.
Yeah, I think the pirates were primarily the only faction that ruled by survey. There were a few in the other nations, but almost every week the pirates were posting, what do you want to do as far as strategy, and there'd be 4 or 5 options to lay out and kind of guide the direction, which I thought was thematically rather fitting.
Yeah, I tell you what, the surveys were really good because it just wasn't one every week. There was like 3, 4, 5 surveys. Do we really want to hit them? Do we want to defend? Do we really want to defend? What does this place look like? Which is really cool because those options are really nice, say for the gaming group. Everybody has a say. It's just not, a handful of Joes, no pun intended, Joe. A handful of Joes making the decision. That's my military background coming out. But anyways, those surveys were definitely spot on. I definitely highly encourage that. With the other I'm not too sure what they did. I'm sure we'll hear more about that stuff.
I know one thing is sometimes I wanted to do one specific thing, but I'd still present it as the vote. And almost every time, the pirates collectively were correct. Like I mean, I had an idea like, okay, well maybe we should tip off the natives, and then of course the pirates are cutthroat, and they made the right call. It's just kind of it was neat to see collectively we were right, even if I was wrong. So it was cool.
Who do you think your biggest ally was over the campaign?
Oh, natives.
Or did you have one? Okay, Dave.
That really sucked to turn on them at the end, but
Greg, I have to ask you about your loyalties, where they really lie. You played under so many flags this year.
Oh yes, sir. So loyalty is always pirates, right? And but as a player, I saw like what you and Jason have done over the years, and playing different factions and start reading all the different prizes. So I was going for wood, as they call it, trying to see where I could pick up prizes, but also I want to play all the factions, and so that was my goal. Since I already had the Port Royal Kickstart collecting dust on my table since it came in, and the Summer of Plunder, 2 weeks were dedicated strictly to Port Royal, and so my goal was to play every action, but unbeknown to the other faction, so I'm revealing a secret here. I was undermining by saying, "Hey, let's go." If the pirates were, say, attacking Nassau, and if I was doing, say, something with the Dutch, "Hey, go attack Nassau," if they didn't own it or whatever. So I was still playing for other countries, but still had pirate intentions. Um, but the Unaligned is really cool. That's, I never played Unaligned in a campaign, and so then you could put your loyalties to, say, the pirates. So even though you're playing some cool Portuguese something, you could still have them aligned or allied with your native or your primary faction, which was the pirates for me.
Awesome. Any other words from the pirates? I should move on to the Spanish real quick here.
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
All right, Josh.
All right. Hey, everybody. So this campaign was, I thought, overall pretty successful for Spain. I think my favorite moment of the campaign was collecting all the Santiago videos and editing them, and then just in my head having to replay all the timelines and hear like 8 people yelling Santiago in different like mixes and trying to get that all squared away. That was fun editing it, and I hope Spanish players had fun yelling Santiago. But the Spanish strategy was we wanted to have a nice strong alliance, and we had pitched this idea with France, and France went ride or die with us, and pirates were supposed to have been, and that stung, that hurt a little bit, as things at the end of the campaign, it seemed that pirates weren't going to live up to promises. But
You expect the pirates to live up to promise? Oh.
well, I thought new leadership, things could change, but but yeah, overall it was great. Spain did suffer from gosh, I don't think it was till week 3 Spain took a territory. We floundered a lot in our orders and getting things on point. So that was a rough spot for us. But yeah, what do you think, Brody?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun. I came in to the campaign with quite a bit of prejudice against the English, thematically, and was slightly disappointed that we didn't get to just wallop them the whole time. We ended up just in a brutal war with the natives pretty much the whole campaign, but that was also really cool and flavorful. Like, I don't know how many times Campeche or Costa de Mosquitos switched hands, but that was kind of cool. As far as the overall format, I know that the Fog of War was a bit of a frustration, but I kind of liked it.
Oh, I agree. It definitely like punched us in the gut a few times, but there was a few times over the campaign, like I think in week 7, the natives hit us for Campeche or whatever, and somebody voted up a whole bunch of like demo games or something, and it like blunted this big attack from the natives.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
it gave and take. It took.
Yeah.
I just explain that Fog of War thing real quick
Yeah, go for it.
for our listeners. So in the previous year, the way the campaign works is as players play log games, they choose where they want to allocate the points they generate from their games to attack or defend any of the locations on the map. And last couple of years, we've had the votes visible to commanders who get to allocate some extra bonus votes that kind of really shape how nations, they can kind of fine tune everything by their votes. But this year we didn't let those votes be visible before the commander chose their action. So you kind of had to communicate more, hopefully, and sounds like it was a bit of a challenge. But part of the reason for that is so commanders weren't staying up till all hours of the night trying to put their votes in at the very last second and agonizing and getting ulcers like last year. And to provide a little bit more realism and encourage communication within teams. But it was more difficult than we anticipated, but I hope it added something as well.
Oh, it definitely did. Like, I'm not super opposed to it. Like, it made me look forward to those like Monday updates of like, okay, what exactly did happen?
Right.
But yeah, so like I had at the start of the campaign, knowing that we had a 3-way alliance going, okay, I think I can easily plot out how this is going to go. And for quite a few weeks it worked out, but as Brody was saying, I thought we were going to be at war with the English, but the natives and us were in this just absolute monster war, and they crushed us. At one point, we had, 2 territories?
Yeah, it was bleak.
But natives were fantastic opponents. I every week I'd sit there and go, man, they've got their game, locked in. From my perspective, they were always making great choices. So hats off to the natives on that. But yeah, it was great. Working with the Spanish players, talking lists. That's one of the things I always enjoy is looking over the lists people create. But yeah, I had a good time this summer.
It looked like it's funny how the nations change every year. This is our 5th year doing it, and it feels like the nations that kind of attract certain kind of people, but it kind of changes a little bit every year. For a couple of years, the Spanish was the biggest player base, but this year they are down a little bit. They're actually the smaller player base, so you had probably a little bit of a challenge in that department. You had to kind of be more careful because you had less games coming in. I think I saw a little bit of difficulty coordinating because of that.
Right. Yeah, with so fewer players, if you have somebody does a bunch of demos, like that could easily skew our voting priorities. And it did several times.
I want to speak to that really quick too. People were puzzled sometimes when the results came out, and a big reason of that, if there's a cutoff point where we download everything and then work with those numbers. But one of the biggest things that was throwing people off is people would submit like 1 hour late. And then those numbers got ported over to the next week, and then they weren't counting on them, and it kind of goofed them up. And it felt kind of bad, but we had that deadline, and then we had to work with those numbers, and we couldn't go back and re-download everything an hour later when somebody threw something in. So that was one of the challenges I think some people didn't realize, but that deadline every week was pretty hard and pretty important.
Yeah.
But it made people care.
Do you want to talk about how you guys organize those?
Yeah, your armadas, that was cool.
Sure. Well, actually, I think Daniel or Brody came up with more of the administrative function of this. But we decided because going like 3 weeks in, we were still kind of floundering with getting people to get their votes going in the right way. Because traditionally in the past, Spain, it wasn't that much of an issue to just put out the objectives and just have people report back. But this year, we just couldn't get that done. So we split everybody up into different armadas based off of like the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of their games submitted. And we tried to then move people around and structure it so that each armada only had one place that they'd submit their games to. And that seemed to work for a couple of weeks there.
Yeah, and it was cool thematically, I thought.
Very cool.
Oh yeah, I loved it. That was a great suggestion that you had come up with.
I think, yeah, and it was also helpful having the veteran players too, like Garrett. I think he may have helped with that too. Well, I know he did. I can't remember if it was his idea or not, though.
Oh, I was thinking it was yours, but yeah, we had some brainstorming going. What is the best way to salvage this?
Yeah.
I like how you had a real plan from the beginning and tried to make some alliances and stuff. It sounded like it didn't work out perfect, but it was fun to have a plan and something to go for going into it.
I hope to have a chance to have that discussion in the open dialogue section later.
All right, then should we talk to the English real quick?
Go for
it. Sweet. So this year we kind of started pretty weak. We kind of got kicked around a little bit at the beginning, but I think we ended up teaming up with the Dutch towards the end, and definitely picked on the French quite a bit. We're just glad to not be at the bottom. So that's pretty sweet. That's my good takeaway for this summer. For the Discord, we had quite a bit of prize support between Eric and I. We got to do a infamy system where you basically get points for playing games, completing requests, participating in paint night, and we would do paint night Tuesday nights. So we'd get our report for Monday, then we would do paint night Tuesday night and discuss how the week went and what we want to go doing forward or do going forward. So that was pretty fun. That's kind of where we did most of our strategy talk. Whoever participated in paint nights they got to participate in figuring out how we want to move forward for that week. Then we would release basic structured orders for whoever didn't join paint night, and then we had a specific goal for the people that did participate. And that seemed like it kind of did pretty well. A lot of the times we do stuff like defending a certain territory for the mass of people, and then we would do a specific goal, taking a certain territory from France or pick on whoever, and that seemed to do pretty well. And then as we did, or as we got towards the end of the summer, we had a lot of people reaching higher levels in the infamy thing, so we got to do quite a bit of prizes. We had a fur trapper to give away. It was a custom mini that I had sculpted. And then we had tokens for Summer 2025 English faction to give out too. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, you guys really did fancy prizes this year. Usually we give everybody $100 of budget from the Firelock store to do prizes, but this year the English wanted to do their own thing, kind of, so they used $100 worth of money and did a bunch of trading and upgrading and got a lot of prizes for that dollar amount. It was impressive.
Yeah, I was able to do some painting work for the artist. So I got to basically get that for almost free. Just had to pay to actually have the mini printed, X amount of times. So that was pretty sweet. And then forget how much Eric said that the tokens cost him, but it sounded like that was a pretty good deal as well. So I feel like we got a good amount of stuff to our players this year. So that was pretty sweet.
Smuggling to inflate your prize support, I see.
Yep, that's how we do it.
From the outside, it looked like the English, and this happened last year too, because of you guys' efforts, had the highest kind of role-playing stuff going on. You had fun reports coming in, and a couple of people doing a lot of that kind of thing, and your infamy system and you have your titles and names kept changing as you got promoted. That was pretty cool.
That was fun having everybody having different titles. It was very, very entertaining to release a weekly update and say, hey, so and so is promoted to Commodore this week, and back and forth. It's pretty fun. We had quite a bit of input from let's see, Commander Dr. D, Commodore Daffyd Castle, Redgrave, Rowan Piers, and Schmidt. They were all really big players this year. So it was a lot of fun to have them in there, and hopefully we have them next year.
I'm sure that took a lot of work on your part, keeping track of numbers and points and spreadsheets and everything for that.
Yeah, and next year, we're definitely going to change up how we do it. Try to make it a little bit more simple, but still keep it the same feel. Just do it a little different.
Any especially memorable moments from English side of things?
One of the lieutenant requests that I'd put out was to basically wear period accurate clothing. And do a game with a coat or a hat or whatever. And I got a lot of people sending pictures in at their local stores wearing stuff, so that was pretty cool. I know Eric was saying that he wanted to make a collage of that. And we also did one with beverages, and we had a lot of people submitting pictures of their rum and their bottles and stuff. So those were good. I liked seeing those because it's actually putting faces to names, kind of. So it was pretty sweet. But that's about it.
I think your efforts really paid off last couple of years as far as just getting people to join your crew. You have 64 people in your Discord channel, which is by far and away the highest number of folks. So well done working with your team.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Shall we move to the French?
Howdy, Gareth Worthy. Yeah. So let's see. Well, I was 2IC with the French there, and we had a plan starting off the get-go before the whole campaign started, where our objective was the Dutch had won the prior year and the English the year before that, and so we could not let them win. And that was basically our mission from day one. So we accomplished that. Yeah, and then we teamed up with the Spanish, went in fast and furious onto the English, and tried to keep them on their back foot as much as possible throughout the rest of the campaign, really. Memorable moments. Yeah, there was a lot of trying to get people to figure out what people want to do, and basically just trying to negotiate with Spain and keep everyone on the same page. But then with Spain being bogged down with the natives, and then us realizing we were in a two-front war was kind of the memorable moment for the campaign, really.
But maybe Jason can speak to this more than me, but it seemed like there was one moment where there seemed to be some coordinated animosity toward the French, and that played out in a brutal fashion. Can you shed some light on that? You or Jason?
That's a diplomatic way to put it. Yeah, I don't know. I was a little confused. I mean, I saw it happen, but it went from let's get the French to let's get the French. And the English and the Dutch just double teamed and repeatedly just started pummeling the French. Last half of the campaign, and then the very last week, everybody doubled down on hitting the French. And then the French also, they used a tribute. So the last week, they realized that they couldn't win. So they did a tribute, which donated some victory points to, I think, the pirates, and then ceded a territory to the natives, or the other way around.
I forget which way it was, but yeah.
We can't win, so we'll get the next two best choices we want to win. And just the net result of everybody rating them and giving away so much, they ended up with the first ever negative points on them.
Achievement unlocked.
Hey, if you fail right. You got to commit to these things.
But you guys were doing great. You were in the lead and winning quite well, top of the pack most of the campaign, and then that was that turning moment, and it was hard to come back from.
Yeah,
memorable, at least, if not good.
Yeah, and even with we had our assistance from the Jacobites, but that still didn't quite, still wasn't enough. And yeah, well, we went down hard, but most of the players seem to be still having a good time with it and found it entertaining, and to make that backwards struggle and try to hold on. And then we had a bit of a vote to decide how we wanted to spend our last week, since we knew we weren't going to win. So what was our objective for sure for that one? And we did Kyle did a bit of negotiating with or talked to the natives and talked to the pirates and stuff like that. And then we decided to give that we could and make sure that, once again, wasn't going to be Dutch, wasn't going to be English.
Well, the last week was quite remarkable as far as all the different things in play and the top teams. It was when Jason was resolving it. How many times did the winner change that week, James, when you were, or Jason?
I don't know, but it was stressful. I kept trying to double check and triple check, and I'm like, I don't know who's going to win. And you're reading it, and it's like, all right, I'm Italian things. tried to do the last week 100%. I mean, I did it. I have a spreadsheet that does everything, but just because of the nature of it, going through it manually, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I couldn't. It was a nail biter for sure.
So yeah, you guys definitely pay attention and trying to balance everything and get, even when you weren't winning, try to make it as close or try to push your favored team over the finish line. That was impressive.
It was also interesting too because we got a unexpected amount of support from the Unaligned at one point, which threw one of our attacks a bit higher up the chain than we intended one of the weeks there.
Ah, yeah.
I think it was the third to last week, I think it was. I forget which week it was. But we got more rallied support than we were expecting at that point. But that was a fun thing too, incorporating in a bit of the history there with the Jacobite support of the French supporting the Jacobites against the English, and so we tried to play up on that and play with our comments. And we had a deal there where we had to have the Scottish flag. I mentioned the Scots a few times throughout 2 weeks there. So I made a point of having a little Scottish flag, and my guys during that the escort scenario, I was escorting Jacobite refugees to their new settlements.
Nice. Yeah, I was behind the scenes processing entries and stuff, and I wasn't always tuned into every channel of their plans and stuff, and sometimes I just like, why is there so many Scottish this week? This is weird, but there was no reasons for that.
Yeah, I sent out. I did another call to arms, but it was like midway through, and I actually included a call out to the Jacobites to come support us. And then I contacted one of the guys on the other line to please post it in their channel.
Well, thank you and Kyle for leading up the French this year. I know, especially you were big into the English last year, but you were eager to serve whatever team needed the support as far as leadership positions. So thanks for jumping in on the French and helping out this.
Yeah, that made it a little interesting too, because I had to quickly look through French lists, figure out French lists, and bought a few different models and set up some stuff because I did not have a French force at all. So that was another little bit of a change at the beginning of the game for me.
Well, I appreciate your help.
Happy to help.
Jason, do you want to fill in for the Dutch at all? Do you want to give any comments regarding how they worked this year?
I mean, I think the Dutch, for the most part, were fairly straightforward. They had generated some orders. They struggled a little bit in the beginning of the campaign, trying to organize things, but I don't know that they adapted the strategy too much to try to fix that. They just kind of tried to make it clear to everybody where to log votes and how to keep up with that. And I think they started pinning some of the messages so that people were able to get at their information a little bit more clearly. But I think in the beginning they kind of suffered from being the winners last year and getting the target on their back out of the gate. So they struggled for probably the first 3 or 4 weeks to try to take off, and then a lot of times their attacks would end up overlapping with another nation, and so they weren't capturing as much territory because they didn't have quite as much strength as whoever was hitting the same target, and they lost out on that.
Yeah, there is kind of a weird meta game that's built up over the years where, whoever won last year, everybody's going to make sure they don't win this year. That's kind of a disadvantage going in, but...
And then at some point they started allying. I think they weren't trading with the English, but they were trading with the English. They just kind of stuck with that partnership, and then when they both were getting beat down by the French, they kind of turned all of their ire towards the French. That became their almost full focus for the last half of the campaign was just attack France.
Natives, we hear from you. You guys came awfully close this year.
Yeah, it was quite the roller coaster of a campaign for us, to be honest. It was great, a lot of fun, like wonderful campaign. We started off really strong first couple weeks, and then slipped when all of a sudden the Spanish, which I appreciate them coming at us because it gave my guys a focus, somebody to hate for the whole entire campaign. They gave us an enemy, gave us a bad guy, and so. We were able to kind of come back, tried to negotiate everything. I thought we played a relatively clean campaign, so to speak. I mean, some people are probably rolling their eyes, but I think we did. But at the end of the day, we came up a little short. I had to laugh about listening to some of the earlier comments there. It was, we talk about excitement. Every results day with that fog of war was kind of exciting, especially when you're commanding a smaller group, because one or two games would just throw your orders all over the place. But group played really well together, the faction. Yeah, I think for me, probably thinking about kind of the highlight or one thing right now that sticks out in my mind, I had to laugh. I think the last day before the commanders were supposed to submit their final orders, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I know the pirates are going to stab us in the back, but do we go against our word or do we stick with our word? And I'm DMing a bunch of my guys, and I'm like, what do you guys want to do here? I feel like we should just play it out clean. And they were like, yep, nope, we're going to play it out clean. I'm like, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. And at the end of the day, even though we came up short, I think it was still the right decision. We came as close as I think we've ever come. So yeah, a good summer. Brent, I don't know if you've got anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, I think it was great fun. I think that the decision to play it clean in the end. I mean, to Derek's credit, he was always right. In the sense that in the 1 week we chose to go defensive, and Derek opened it up. What does everybody want to do, and so on. And the choice was kind of to go defensive. Derek was like, okay. I'm talking aside with Derek. I'm not sure, but he went with it, and that was our biggest loss. and so that we lost a lot of ground that week. So Derek his intuition was correct, and right up to the end, and ran a really solid command as well. And I think after that defensive week, folks were pretty inclined to just follow Derek's lead, because it was clear that where he was leading was getting us to win. So that was great. I think the highlight for me actually is is a personal one, where I got to play we went to Historicon first time this year, and we got to play on that big beautiful table at Historicon. So that was a big highlight for me, which I suppose isn't really that campaign related, but it was really great. Yeah, I think it was challenging. It was challenging for us from an organizational perspective, because we had a lot more players than were on the Discord participating. And so it was harder to coordinate attacks. We would have attacks where we're just like, oh, where did that come from? That was not at all what we wanted to do. And so we had a fairly small number of people actively participating on the Discord. And so that was challenging. And, so nevertheless, yeah, I'm proud of how we did this year. It's really excellent. We made a good showing. It was, as you've already mentioned, it was so close, just a hair's breadth of winning. And on the other thing is, I think we've demonstrated that the natives are a competitive faction, and that they definitely can win. I think some people maybe don't play natives because they can't use the big ships. But during the campaign, when I wanted to use a big ship, I just played an unaligned nation, and played the ship, and then credit it towards the natives. So in terms of the campaign, you certainly can sail big ships, even if you're sort of voting for the native faction. So I thought that was really good.
Brandenburg privateers come in for the native.
Yeah, and the Scots.
Actually, Brent, if you don't mind me just adding on, I think one of the successful things actually come out of this might be that we might be able to attract more people to the native faction. So I'm hoping that's the outcome, even though we didn't win, but I consider that a victory if we can attract a few more people over to the faction.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that was definitely showed that the natives are a strong faction, and a competitive faction for sure. Yeah.
Some of the chaos for your voting, or it wasn't a lot, but you by far had the most unaligned going for you. And I know some of those were you, native players playing unaligned factions, so you could do some European stuff, fighting with the ships and whatnot. But of the 182 games logged for native factions, or unaligned, 65 went to natives, and the next one was Dutch at 36. So a lot of people, maybe not 100% dialed in. But in spite of that, you were pretty unified. I didn't see any big surprises or weird things happening with your votes.
Just a couple times. Like it wasn't. The order would sometimes mess things up a little bit. I was speaking to some other people. It was like we get a lot of votes to defend our capital more than we would anticipate. And while defending the capital is never the wrong answer, sometimes it's not the most correct answer, but it allowed us to still kind of continue on with kind of the overall strategy. So it worked well.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Fog of War this year, and not. I mean, I perceive that it can be frustrating because you can't be as perhaps tactical as you might want to be. So there's a loss of control in that sense. But I liked it as a sort of a tension builder, and also from a sort of structural perspective. Making sure that commanders weren't even more stressed than they already were in terms of getting votes in and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought it was great, the Fog of War too. Yeah, I thought it was really added to the campaign, in my opinion.
You guys kind of have a club up there where you game together pretty regularly, peers, and you were all playing native, so I'm guessing that had a little bit of, helped a little bit kind of coordinating, and since you guys, commander and lead, are in the same proximity, that had to build a little.
Definitely, that really helped. And, the truth is that a couple of years ago already we said let's mess with the meta because natives were at the bottom all the time, and let's get a bunch of people. We have quite a large player base here in Lethbridge, and we thought let's get together and play natives and see if we can sort of lift up natives in terms of the perception of whether they can win and do well. And I think we've done that. And but yeah, having a large local group that you can actually say, okay, you do this, you put yours there, well, I'll put mine here, and so on. That definitely helped to sort of mitigate the bit of the chaos in terms of not being able to control where a number of native players are putting their stuff because of the lack of participation on the Discord. So it mitigated for sure. Yeah.
Looks like you got a lot of new folks in and taught them the game and got.
Yeah, I think we did, and actually it was really great. Some of our newer players won some prizes, so that caused some excitement as well. So
I'm still getting that package together to send to your whole club there. Prizes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, prize-wise, natives we did really well locally, and so that was really great, and that really helps to encourage new players too. The notion that they could win, an army, which is in fact what happened to one of our newest players. So that's really exciting. It's great.
Good deal. You made a cool prize. You want to talk about that real quick, or was that Brent?
Oh yeah,
Brent. I'll let you speak about this. You were the one that came up with this prize, so.
Yeah, so we wanted to have a little bit silly, like a giant canoe, that was as long as, longer than a sloop. It was like 13 and a half inches long, giant canoe. And the original was to just make the canoe and have it as a prize. But then I thought, you know what, I don't think I'm going to play natives next year. So let's just donate this force. So we filled it with this giant canoe with natives and donated an entire native force to that prize. And who did it go to? Actually, it went to somebody unaligned, wasn't it?
No, actually, I think it went to an English player. I'd have to look again.
Oh, okay. Was it Jason Baines? I think was the name.
I believe so. Yeah, that sounds right. But might have to check that. But it's funny. Originally, we came up with the idea because obviously the big prize is a big boat. So when Brent and I stepped into the commander role, we were kind of joking about we should just make a big canoe and that'll be the native prize in case we don't win. And then we kind of open it up to kind of help maybe garner some support from some of the other nations. So.
Yeah, you had quite tell us about that last week. It sounds like you were talking to a lot of people trying to get people to attack the people you needed to get to that top spot.
Yeah, there was a little bit of wheeling and dealing. Again, what it was we had this prize pack, and we're like, well, if you guys can help us in one way or another, we'll add your people into the prize draw for the big canoe and the army. So there was mixed success on that. I think it went well overall. Like I said, we finished really close. So it accomplished what we had hoped. so to speak. And I think it just brought the community together as well. So I think it was great.
Maybe do some pretty complicated random number rolling for prizes there on that last week.
I did. I apologize.
No problem.
I'm like, yeah, I need you to add these guys, take me and Brent out.
Right. That's all good. Well, thank you for doing so much work for the natives this year and last year. Really appreciate your efforts and building the community up there. It's awesome. Unaligned is always a kind of a trick to incorporate into the campaign, and we've had several people approach, ask us how can we make it work better, and so many ideas we've tried to make work. And Josiah volunteered to lead up with some ideas that seem to be very workable. So thanks for jumping in there, Josiah. How was your experience? You kind of came in halfway through the campaign, which is kind of chaotic, but I appreciate you doing it anyway. How did it go?
I enjoyed it. It's kind of funny because I feel like I was still just another player and not so much a commander in some ways because I don't have a lot of the same responsibilities.
You had no spreadsheet.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just kind of like jumping in halfway too. It's like expectations of what people thought I could do and what I couldn't do. So like there's, I would say like memorable would have been like around like week 4 when I'd asked Eric of the English where he would want some attacks to go. And they didn't quite go there. But it was before we had like really even had like a group chat or anything like that. So then he didn't want to work with me, or I should say the Unaligned. But then we kind of talked and got some more votes for him later anyway, so we got past it. But yeah, it was also I only had like 6 or 7 players in the Unaligned Discord, so not like a huge pool of players to work with, and most of them I communicated with just through direct messages. We had already kind of set that up before the chat. Yeah, so just a lot of like personal messages back and forth with people, and I would usually message different commanders and ask them where they needed votes, and then I would assign players different locations if they didn't have a preference. So a lot of times I would ask them if they were going for a specific prize, who they wanted to play for, and then I would find out the locations for them. Yeah. So as far as like strategy, it was very like whatever the players wanted to do, and then I would try to work together. Sometimes maybe nudge them in one direction if they didn't have a clear idea based off of what commanders of other nations were looking for.
Yeah, it was kind of a thankless job because the Unaligned can't win.
Right.
So you're just kind of coordinating people working for other, kind of like a privateer idea. But you have a lot of like role player kind of people in the Unaligned who kind of just want to do their own thing or have a
Right,
narrative
yeah.
they're kind of spinning out or store their battle reports, especially Danny's battle reports are always
Right.
really fun.
Yeah, a lot of them tend to have a favorite faction that they like to play for anyway. So like I had a couple players who they always wanted to support the Dutch, or some that towards the end there were a lot of people in favor of supporting the natives. So as far as like for the natives and their storytelling of keeping as like the underdogs that are trying to get back to the top, that really appealed to a lot of them.
And then tell us about how you played Unaligned as a primarily Oak and Iron player.
Yeah, so I kind of have been working on faction for some Scottish Oak and Iron initiative cards and extra bonus cards, I guess. I don't know what you would call them, as far as like just an option for people to play as. Because Oak and Iron doesn't have an unaligned option as of now in the game. So, yeah. So I was working on some of that with different people and just trying things out and making some custom ships and flags and whatnot. So that was fun.
Well, thanks for helping support the Unaligned this year. That song that Danny published. Did you work with the video on that, or was that Kyle?
I think that was
Okay, so
Kyle. Yeah.
that was pretty awesome. One of the highlights for me,
Yeah.
the unpainted miniatures. And then, if you haven't looked at that, you can see it on our YouTube channel. He let us publish it there. Just a funny little sea shanty about unpainted miniatures fighting as well as painted ones. And then David on the Spanish team, he recorded it as well as Substack, I think. Making the rounds. Pretty fun. All right, we made it through everybody. Jason, do you want to throw anything else in from your perspective before we open it up to a little joust here?
No, I just want to say thank you to everybody that participated. I know it's a lot of work. There's a lot of expected timing on some things, so trying to take care of real life and then still deal with the diplomatic negotiations with folks and just spending some hours Discord and writing the updates. This is a 100% volunteer program, so that's a lot of hours that are just given out of the goodness of everybody's heart to support a great game. And I just want to make sure you hear a solid thank you from us.
Indeed.
Well, and from our perspective as commanders as well, just a huge thank you to you, Jason, for all that. Well, the whole crew there, just the number of hours put into, looking at spreadsheets, coming up with results, writing up the results, just fantastic. Beautiful job.
Jason put the most hours in. Thank you so much, Jason, for all the work you put on that and all the knowledge you brought to the table with making things work.
So it's a labor of love. I really enjoy this game, and I think it's a great community.
All right, let's hear from Josh. Sounds like you had something you needed to get into air or to ask somebody.
Well, I've got like two things. When we orchestrated would probably be the wrong term for it, but at the start of the campaign, France and we decided, okay, we're going to make this big public alliance announcement, because I don't think in the history of the campaign there's ever been like a formal, like, these two are working with each other kind of thing. And I was wondering if that had any impact at the end of week 1, where it was, week 2, I think is when we announced it, in your guys' discussions. Like, was there some sort of like hesitation in the player base? Like, what does this mean?
I will say it popped up in all of our discussions with other nations. The Franco Spanish alliance was seen as a big threat, at least from the people we talked to.
Okay.
I thought thematically it was amazing. I thought that was great and wonderful for the campaign and for the community that you guys did it. Definitely added some discussion. So
Okay. And then this is going to be directed at pirates. When did you plan to not follow through and stab us in the back like that? It just hurts.
Yeah. I feel like pirates. It sounds like we stabbed everybody in the back, but that's not really what we didn't feel it that way necessarily. So I know that the Spanish, you and France were really close, and so then when we were invited in as the silent third party, I go, okay, so that means we get to the end of the game, and what happens to the silent third party is they get the boot. So
from Spain's perspective, we totally would have let you guys win the campaign, because for the other nations, before the campaign started, we were like, all right, we're going to get the three of us together. We'll make sure the Dutch and the English are never in the top 3 spots. That was like the number 1 goal of the alliance. And we had said it's okay as long as one of the 3 of us wins, and nobody would be like, sniping at each other. But then as like the weeks went on, it was like, hey, pirates, are you gonna announce? Are you gonna break trade with the natives? Cement this, and we'll ride to the top here. It's like, pirates aren't doing what they said they would.
No, we always kind of thought the risk of announcing that we were working with you guys, and we never outright attacked you or France, or at least not. We did do some like trading of territories with France where we fake attack each other, but yeah, it basically the benefit. I mean, I asked the pirates pretty much every week, and the vote was always okay. Well, we don't trust Spain or France, so let's stick with trading with the natives another week, and we'll just keep stringing them along. Like that was the vote every week. So
It hurts. It hurts.
I have a native question from what for the Spanish. From the native perspective, we were always a bit confused by why the Spanish had it on for us. And even in the sort of Spanish reports, there was this sort of tone of, the Spanish are being manipulated by, or the natives are being manipulated or used by other European powers to attack us and so on. Was that just narrative, or was there some reason for the animus? The natives were kind of confused by the.
Well, I actually think I even reached out to make sure that I hadn't like insulted you personally at any point in time.
Yeah, no, that was just a narrative thing to make the reports, have a flow and stuff to it. Because I thought you guys were going to be working more with the English and stuff this year. Because at the start of the campaign, we thought for sure natives were gunning for France, and I never thought that the war between us would happen. But what kind of led to it was England wanted a ceasefire of like things are going bad, and then you guys had attacked us and took like Panama or something, and
they were doing, and the natives were doing pretty well, and we felt like we had to keep you down.
yeah. So when England was like, all right, we've had enough for right now, like, and then you guys attacked us, and then it was just constantly trading back and forth, and the war never ended till you took all of our territory.
Josh, did you have one territory at one point in the game? Is that the low point?
I think two. Okay. Two.
Maybe it was France that had one.
France got down to one at the end.
Yep.
That's
the end with just Quebec left. That was at the end of the campaign.
Yeah, had this campaign been about acquiring territory, the natives definitely would have won. We ruled the map in many ways.
Any other questions or grievances we need to air here?
I just want to make a formal apology. There are a couple times where, one time it worked out where we attacked a territory. We did not vote to do that or even appoint that. And we ended up attacking a French territory and took it, but we were able to pass it off as we rescued it from the natives who had also attacked it. And I thought that was one of my favorite flavor aspects in the whole thing was we attacked this French territory, and how do you explain that? It's like, well, we were rescuing it from the natives who attacked it. It's like, we wouldn't have known.
And that wasn't the only time. That happened twice where we attacked an English territory that the natives were going after.
Right.
Yeah, we've accidentally attacked. Oh shoot, who was it? I think this is the pirates. We took something. The English took something, and we didn't even have it in the orders. It was like, how did this happen? Where'd this come from? And I think it was an unaligned or something. But yeah, sounds like everybody's had that happen this summer.
Yeah, we had that as natives too. We had the first attack on the Spanish by the natives wasn't anything planned. It was just one of the players who wasn't on the Discord or whatever just registered a game against the Spanish, and that sort of that might have been the spark that that started the war.
The arrow heard round the world.
I think most of the fights seem to kick off with at least an unaligned or an unintentional start of a fight, and then it just snowballed from there. And then that's game on, the rest of the season.
Except for us attacking the English, that was very much planned.
That's true.
Well, that's fine. We can tell that's planned. That was, yep. We read that one loud and clear.
Well,
What
it
we
was
weren't subtle enough.
So this is curious as I played every nation and every game and registered attacks or whatever when I registered. I'm curious if any of the stuff I put in when I was playing for the Spanish or for the French or whoever maybe sparked something like that. So that might be a good pirate strategy in the future.
Is the agent of chaos.
Flying false colors, right? Isn't that a thing?
All the colors.
Yep.
There's only 3 people that played for all the nations this year, and you were one of them.
That was the goal. That was the goal. I mean, I have so much Blood and Plunder stuff, and I was like, I can't believe I never played stuff from the Dutch or Unaligned. Unaligned has a lot of cool offbeat stuff. But yeah, that was fun. I enjoy that. It forced me to break out all my different models and stuff.
That was another thing I had to deal with was reporting or like getting battle reports in for my kids for different factions. And I think my favorite one was when I contacted the Dutch, told them I had an attack for my daughter, and they gave me a French territory to attack. I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're telling me you're attacking us?"
That's complicated.
So then I had to look at the map. I'm like, "Oh, cool. We're not defending that. I'm just gonna like sit on this and not tell anyone because that feels kind of like cheating, and I'm just watching my territory get attacked. This is cool."
That sounds like a misdirection to get you to defend a territory so they could attack somewhere else.
No, they attacked it. We didn't defend it.
It was one of your kids that beat out Greg for that prize for the most nations played, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, Georgia got it this year.
That's awesome.
So I commented earlier that I really appreciated the Spanish giving us a heal, because a lot of the native players who played over the last few years went into this summer really with a bone to pick against the French, and so the French and I had we had a non-aggression pact going, and so just to keep those guys away from inadvertently attacking the French, the Spanish giving us a heal helped focus the team so much. So I appreciate that.
You're quite welcome.
Like whenever the conversation went like, oh, we need to start attacking the pirates or the French, I was like, no, we want Spanish scalps, and away we would go.
Yeah, I was making little attack maps, putting little skull and crossbones here and there, like, oh, Indians attack French again. French or Spanish. Spanish attack Indians again. Indians attack French. Spanish again. It was just back and forth every week.
So here's a question. How many people actually defended their capitals religiously? Like Spain, I don't think it ever went undefended. But I questioned looking at some of the plays each week if people were leaving their capitals open.
We may have left it open a couple of times.
I think the Dutch did a couple of times.
I think the English majority of the time was defending capital, except for like maybe the last week, maybe the last 2 weeks, maybe something like that. But it was our major order the whole summer.
I think we wanted it to be one of our 4. Fortunately or unfortunately, it ended up always being 1. And again, that I think was a lot of that was the fog of war and people who weren't on the Discord logging their games. So
I got the impression that if someone didn't know what to do or they didn't want to didn't have the time to inquire where they should go, they just default defended capital because you can't go wrong there. So I'm thinking a lot of votes went that direction just by default.
it's never the wrong answer. It just may not have been the most correct answer, but it was never the wrong answer to defend a capital. So,
Oh no, we started like undefended our capital, I believe, at one point, so we could put more attacks onto the English.
It's rare to have a capital fall, but it has happened in the last couple of years. But nobody lost their capital this year, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, natives, we lost our capital last year, and it was good and bad. It was good in the sense that it freed us up to just go hard, right, on other things, because retaking it seemed unlikely. But yeah,
I have a comment for the natives from the pirates. So I will tell you, Daniel did a great job with all the different polls and voting. and everything else that we were doing every week. I mean, like I said, there was like several votes, and if you weren't on it, you're going to miss those votes. And I will tell you, the natives have always been center point for discussion. Hold, trade, hold, trade, and then next thing you know, hell, we're in the running. Which was, I told Daniel, I said, that's amazing because pirates just suck ass, for a few years. And at a certain point, I probably was like, hey, at a point it becomes either us or them, and if it was going to go for the gold, it had to be for us. So I will tell you, if we weren't in the running, at the very end, it probably just would have been, hey, cool, we had a good alliance with the natives, but it was crazy that the natives were always in full discussion in our groups and stuff like that. So it just wasn't an arbitrarily, hey, screw them, let's just, hit them in the back or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed that. That was a good time this year.
Yeah, we had intentions to keep you guys like we did fully intend if it wasn't us, it was going to be you guys to win, and then but it did come down to someone said, "Hey, look at the numbers. We could squeak out with a win," and then we did a vote, and it was pretty much unanimous. So it didn't feel right to not represent the Pirates that way.
Oh, it's all good. We sleep well at night. I don't know about you guys, but
It may have kept me up.
Just joking. It was interesting, like because I think just a couple hours before the final submissions, I'm sitting there and I'm sending messages to Brent. I'm sending to some of the longer playing native players, going, it's going to be really close. Should I? What if you guys want? I could do these things, and maybe that helps solidify things. But everybody responded to me going, no, let's stay true to our word. And I'm like, you bet, we'll do that.
Noble chiefs.
Yeah, and from a player perspective, I was happy to see the Pirates win as well. Just to see them, come out of the woodwork in terms of the way the campaigns have been, and to see the Pirates win is great. And natives coming in second just really boosts those two factions in sort of the perceptions of the community, and so that you don't have to, in the early days, you have to play Spanish if you want to win, right? In those first couple campaigns, whereas now it's very clear that any nation, apart from Unaligned, can win this campaign. So,
well, just as an old gaming partner of Daniel, I was also pretty happy to see him lead the Pirates to victory. So.
The Pirates won the first campaign in 2021, which was structured quite a bit different, but they have 2 trophies now, which is a first.
Nice.
That'll highlight that probably be in some people's sights for next year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the
I
thing.
did want to mention, I forgot. So when we ceded the natives the territory, we did internally call it Operation Human Shield. So that was kind of the goal, was to get you guys up there and paint another target. So had a good laugh on that.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was thinking about that when people were ceding us territory. So it's like, just gives another place that we can't defend a raid, right? Raids were huge this year.
Yeah, they were key. A lot of people used them, and they made some big swings.
It was nice to see that diplomatic element really come out as well as a significant element in the campaign, that the ceding of territories and so on, that really became a significant factor.
Yeah, there was definitely big differences between this year and last, as far as like the commander actions, like the tribute, seed, trading. I mean, we haven't even talked about that, but trading was like interesting because it kind of showed what potential alliances were. But it sounds like England and Dutch didn't trust each other enough till the end.
We're going to send you some stuff, but you better not stab us in the back.
I will tell you, as I was a captain 3 years ago, the whole dynamics of being a captain the evolution is just amazing from the very first time, and then over the years playing. It's just amazing what Jason and Joe has come up with, and then part of their other team members that to help them with that stuff. It's just amazing. This thing is just like very top notch as compared to like maybe the first year. Pretty compared to now, very rudimentary, but it still worked. But now it's exciting now to look forward to next year and see what new twists and plot twists and because last year we had that damn the earthquake in Port Royal, and all of a sudden everybody losing shit and everything else. That was crazy. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what comes up next year. And now you guys are under the gun to like dial it up the next notch for all us captains and players, so to speak.
Well, maybe we should turn to that real quick. We don't want to say too much. We haven't committed to too much as far as what we're going to do next year, but we have noticed some patterns, and we're always trying to keep it fresh. We noticed in the last couple of years that people jumping into the campaign the first time is definitely a very exciting and fresh experience. But after you play the campaign a couple times, if we don't change it up, it gets a little less exciting. So we're trying to probably do a bit of a bigger change next year. I mean, challenges with the campaign. We've heard quite a bit of. My goal was to not let this guy win. So there's a lot of king making possible in the current system, and there's a lot of interesting politics and negotiations, and that's a part of the fun of the campaign. But it also is hard for the players. I mean, the whole campaign is to make a good time for the whole community, but it's really hard to balance everybody participating at a meaningful level, which we've switched up a lot of things. Where it used to be all commander led, it was kind of a commander minigame, and players need to interact with it, so they make votes, but then players really need to be dialed in and reading all the wall of text and updates every week it's a challenge to make the whole thing work and have everybody feel like their contributions are meaningful. So there's lots of challenges, lots of things we're trying to balance. So we're thinking of changing up quite a bit next year, and we're during the campaign we're like, what should we? We're always thinking, how can we do it better next year? So half of our brain is that side of things. Jason, do you want to talk for a few minutes about our ideas, or you want to keep it secret from? I'll leave it up to you.
Oh, I mean, I'll talk about them just with the caveat of it's obviously not final. It's all discussion point, and we're still going through some of the surveys, and we'd like to. We have like a town hall type thing and get some input from the community. But there are a few things, the campaign map was, I think, a good addition from the beginning. It's evolved and gotten better. It's got some issues. The primary issue for me that I don't like about the system and just the lack of paths between locations, or a limitation of where you can attack. So you can come from Trinidad and attack Quebec.
Natives in their canoes just zoom across the whole Atlantic. Yeah.
Right. So, but that's unfortunately the primary limitation on that is more the technology side behind this, and how to deal with that from the spreadsheet and from the map itself, and just the way we take in votes. We have a very rudimentary system for you pick a drop down of where you want to attack, having to get that data entry form to deal with the complexity of interacting with the map is one of the challenges. But it's definitely something we're looking at and trying to improve. One main thing we're looking at doing is possibly zooming in and doing more of a dialed in campaign. So there's only 9 locations, the 3 different theaters on the map that you can look at to try to simplify it so people can figure out where they want to deal with the combat, if it's in North America and the Caribbean, South America. That way it simplifies some of the decisions in terms of if I'm a fringe player and I have no idea what to do with 32 locations or keep up with all of the chaos. I'm looking at a much smaller decision tree to go with, and then it's a lot easier for some of the command and control to know where to go and how to deal with that.
Even more fundamental than that might be a date is we're considering doing more of a focused narrative campaign that recreates, or not recreates, but is based on like Queen Anne's War, which would have a pre-built alliance structure. So instead of having 6 teams all vying, it might be an alliance of 3 versus 3. You still have your teams you're working with as a nation, but you have a pre-built structure. So it's more of a alliance of 3 versus alliance of 3 to change up the king-making aspect, sort of a thing. We haven't tested it yet, but that's to give it a more of a historical flavor and to give it a little more structure and less chaos. That might be something we explore, which would make the 9 locations more reasonable. Instead of 6 teams, you got 2, which makes it a little more focused. So that could be a big change, but we'll see.
And then having the potential to upgrade locations, to actually have something that you can affect on the map that isn't necessarily an attack or defense, but building up fortifications or working on trade or
build Castillo San Marcos.
Right. So the idea is to have some different attributes at every location so that they have more value or more variance, rather than everything has a defensive 1, or some of them have a defensive 2 and some of a defensive 3, is having them actually a greater impact on the outcomes of things, or a greater value of why you would want to attack it, or it may be more difficult to
make geography more meaningful and interesting.
Right. As far as the voting, I think that system for the most part works pretty well. I think having the sort of sub-objectives of playing in a store to help get it visible to the community is a good one, and the recruiting is a good one. I think we're definitely going to look at putting some caps on the number of games and the number of points you can earn as a player per week, not to discourage people from playing, but just to keep from there being anybody able to swing any kind of vote.
Honestly, that wasn't an issue this year, which was nice. We didn't have really any major unexpected issues or catastrophes, which was really nice.
Yeah, there were a couple of items, so convention games are awesome, but sometimes there are certain events that can happen that can give people a larger number of votes. Or if somebody just proactively to prevent somebody from, I'm going to run 16 games this week. Well, now you've put yourself in controlling order of the votes for your team. You basically are running the show indirectly, and that's something we want to avoid. We want everybody to have an equal chance and have well, not perfectly equal, but a measured chance to have autonomy and to affect the outcomes of things, and it not be a oligarchy of a certain number of people that are swinging and controlling the campaign. That's the whole goal of this, is to be a community event and for everybody to have an opportunity to participate and to have fun. And so we just want to make that as level, but I don't, I'm not in the camp of participation trophies where everybody is, you're all winners. Well, you are, but you're not. Competition is a good thing. So
I think you guys done a really good job since, like I said, this is my 4th year playing, and I remember a few years ago when one country just out of the gate just stole the Caribbean. And it's like, how in the hell is this faction so far ahead in week 1? I mean, it's almost like someone cheating at Risk. How do you get those many armies on the damn board in the first turn? So, I mean, if you play Risk. But anyways, yeah, I've had some barroom brawls over Risk cheaters. But anyways, that's funny.
I learned that dice hurt when they hit your head at a high velocity.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you guys have, when you guys saw that, obviously a few years ago, you know who I was talking about. But you guys definitely put the cap on that, and I think that's really good, because it's almost disheartening looking at numbers of like, well, how in the, that means I have to be playing. We have to get everybody in our faction playing 2 games a week, 7 days a week, and we may be catching up, to get those votes in. But I think you guys done a really great job of dialing that down, limiting the crazy player or two from running the show. That's for sure. So
Well, it's always a trick, and everything has a consequence. Yeah, it used to be just sheer number of games played, but I mean, the campaign is about enjoying your hobby, not cranking out a million games and making it a chore just so you can win. So that wasn't great. But then it's kind of an allocation of resources. Everybody has an equal number of votes to work with now, even regardless of the team size. But I mean, that has another little consequence. Like the English had the most players getting the most games, but that didn't necessarily mean they were winning, which feels kind of weird. But yeah, trying to balance everything so everybody has a chance and there's something fun to do. But yeah, we have made some weird decisions, but hopefully it keeps getting better.
yeah, I'm sure it will.
I'm excited by that prospect of making geography more meaningful. It's one of the things I mentioned in the survey was, the notion that having contiguous territories and sort of adds a thematic element, but it seems a bit random for the reasons that Jason laid out. But I'm excited by that prospect of having geography and also resource building elements added in would be really interesting too. I think that could really change up the campaign as well. So that's great stuff. Glad to hear it.
So don't be surprised if we ask you to come and help playtest a system with us in the next couple months.
Nice.
Yeah, we'd be game to help with that, I think. Give us an excuse to play some more Blood and Plunder.
There's a hard limit of how do you introduce complexity, or you need knobs and levers to push and pull, but you get too complicated, and we have an issue even with the system as it is now. It's hard to come in as a new person and to keep up with what is there and how does this work.
Yeah, definitely. You want the rank and file, relatively low involvement player to still have meaningful involvement.
Right. It needs to be accessible to anybody, but then still have the depth for more veteran players or people that want to jump in with the feet to feel like they have something fun to do other than just play a game that fulfills an objective and I'm done for the week.
Yeah, because there's also those people who like join in the campaign partway through or just find out about the game and have just started playing Blood and Plunder. So throwing too many levers at them is like just overwhelming and not fun too.
Right. So that's the tough balance, and I think we've progressed about as far as we can in the current system. So there's some band-aiding we can do, but there's we need to do a little bit of surgery, I think, to get some of the fundamental elements in there. But trying to do that in a way that is one, simple for people to do, and two, we have the technology to deal with the limited resources that we have. We can't build a full-blown video.
Yeah, it's not can't turn it into a video game. But we got to remember that most people are going to have a lot more fun having meaning games with people at their local store or club, and that's really what we want to enhance as much as we can. And we can't do we can't do all of that, but we can provide a kind of a extra push to get together and game. And so having a little more of a theme or some centerpiece like scenarios or something that feel like something is progressing. There's some historical or some meaningful events happening during the campaign might be a fun way to let people participate in something bigger without having to read every word of text through our for all the rules and stuff. We post the rules plenty ahead, but there's a lot of them and they're kind of intricate and tricky, and if you aren't a commander, you don't have to understand everything. But from our surveys, a lot of people, I didn't totally understand what was going on, but I had a good time anyway, and that's okay. And so keeping it simple enough and interesting enough, even if you don't understand everything or not involved in the nitty gritty, is important. So that's part of my goal.
And so from the narrative standpoint of trying to write some of these updates week to week with 32 locations and 15 or 16 of them changing hands. Some of the text gets to where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to read this because it doesn't matter because there's just so much going on. Boiling the map down quite a bit helps the storytelling aspect of it, makes it easier for the narrative elements to play out in a way that has greater impact and relevancy. I think it has potential to draw people into the storyline a little more than throwing attacks and defenses.
Right. But props to you for writing all that flavor text. That was a lot of words. That was fun too to read it. You know, I didn't read every word. I bet most of these people didn't read every word of all the updates either. That's okay. Well, that's kind of our thoughts. We definitely not dialed in or decided, but that's kind of our thoughts for moving forward to next year. I hope everybody, all you commanders, you're welcome to give input as we go forward here. Any more thoughts? Really helpful to get all the surveys from people. Thank you, everybody. We have like 80 or 70, 80 surveys out of like 300 people that participated in the campaign this year, which is a really great feedback rate, and a lot of them have been really thoughtful and helpful. So really appreciate that from everyone. Any final parting shots or comments before we wrap it up here?
Hey Joe, when's the last day to submit the survey, or is that passed already?
I believe it's Wednesday.
Okay, so yeah, I need to submit mine. Okay,
Same.
thank you.
Wasn't there a rumor of a Winter of Plunder coming up? Just joking.
Wednesday, August 27th. I don't know when this is going at.
Yeah, this probably won't be published before then, but
I heard
Okay.
Dead Man's Chest was running Winter of Plunder.
yeah,
I'm just
and spring.
throwing Tyler under the bus.
We do have the Great Pirate Paint Off, the painting event that I try to run every spring or winter, starting in January, which I try to get people kind of thinking about Summer of Plunder, getting miniatures painted up for it. So that's kind of our winter event plus Adepticon. So I don't think we can run a winter campaign. But
I was kidding, of course, but obviously this one was amazing. Thanks again for running this.
Thank you guys. It's an awesome campaign.
Yeah, we had a great time over on the French side. I think a lot of people had a lot of fun with it. So thank you very much for everything there.
thanks for being the punching bag in the end there. Appreciate that.
Someone's got to do it.
I'll just throw out a thanks to all the sponsors. There's so many, and all the prizes that got sent out. So thanks to those guys as well.
Especially Firelock's Games, who donated $1,200 of prizes this year. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a nice summer this year. Thank you guys for putting it on, and thank you, Dan, for doing the prizes and all the fun stuff. It's a lot of work, and we appreciate you guys doing it. Yeah.
Got to mention Garrett helping me save pictures and process stuff, all the entries. It's a lot of work too. Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah, that's a big lift. Woof.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. It's really fun to be able to see all the pictures and all the games and all the tables and all the miniatures and stuff. But
Yeah.
How many entries did we have at the very end?
about 22,100, I think. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
spreadsheet, but I can't even read it. A lot. And then multiply that by about 5 pictures. That's like 10,000 pictures to sort through. But that's one of the fun things I really enjoy about it.
1,863.
Okay, almost 2,000. Which is a little bigger than last year, which is good. All right, we probably should wrap it up there. Thank you for everyone for taking the time out of your Saturday morning to jump on here and be nerdy with us. Thank you for all your work over the last 3 months and helping everybody in the community have a great time. Really appreciate it. Thanks for being awesome.